let's get this going. Our question for today is, what is your go-to comfort food? Go-to comfort food.
What is my go-to comfort food? You know what? Sandwiches.
Sandwich.
Yeah, I like sandwiches a lot. And it's kind of like when I don't know what I really want to eat, I can always just go fall back on a sandwich, and I really enjoy them. So I know a lot of people have their favorite sandwich shops. I'll pretty much eat a sandwich from anywhere. Doesn't matter to me. So sandwiches, that would be my comfort food for sure.
What about you, Eric?
Pizza?
Yeah.
I dig pizza. I like me some Domino's pizza or whatever has. Domino's is the only pizza I think that I eat on a call it in kind of a situation with they don't have a.
Have you tried Marco's?
Oh yeah, I like Marco's a lot.
Yeah, okay.
Domino's is I actually like Marco's a whole lot. But the reason why we go Domino's is because you can't really beat the deals. So
that's true.
They do have some good deals.
Yeah.
And so I'm still waiting. Like, man, I tell you what, if Domino's comes out with the stuffed crust pizza, it's over.
They used to, so if they bring it back, then
it'll probably come back at some point. Yeah. For me, it's a whole meal. So it is chicken nuggets, like some Tyson chicken nuggets, a pack of white peppered gravy, boxed mashed potatoes, and Hawaiian rolls.
I see what's happening here. I know exactly what's happening. You're not pulling one over on me, Jason. You're recreating your school lunch from elementary.
That is it. It is the school lunch meal.
That was my favorite school lunch meal too.
That is my favorite comfort food. Yeah, we still have it. My kids hate it.
Really?
But I love it.
Oh yeah. I'm right there with you. That is an amazing meal.
The rolls back in the day. When
we
were in school.
Yeah,
they were legit.
Yeah, like you stuff that chicken nugget in there. You put some mashed potatoes, a little gravy on top. Yep. That's my thing. My comfort food.
That's great.
Mine's very similar.
What you got, Lee?
Chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes and gravy, green beans, and a side salad start, and with ranch, and that's it.
That
and it's got to have butter rolls. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
I do like me some butter rolls.
You got to have some butter rolls with that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Dude, that's so good. You unlocked that part of my memory. As soon as you started saying it, I was like, oh, that's,
I remember that meal.
Yeah, when they had that in the cafeteria, I mean, I was always excited.
I'd bring extra dimes because you could get more rolls for dimes.
Yeah, because they were one there. Yeah, I would eat my food, and then it was like I was a beggar from that point on. Hey, you got a dime I can use?
Yeah.
Hey, you got a dime I can use? I was going for the 10. I wanted $1 worth of dimes so I could get 10 rolls.
All this talk of food. We should do a whole podcast on foods.
That would be amazing.
Maybe sometime,
Maybe sometime soon. On that note, welcome to the podcast, guys. All right. Today, we talk about ourselves. That's right. Just more of that. So we're here. Where are we from? How did we get here? We wanted to make a special episode for you guys, just to let everybody know who we are. Also, to just celebrate the fact that we have come 10 episodes in. I know that's not a lot, but it's a big achievement for us, something we've wanted to do for a long time. So we're excited to do it. Also, at the end of this episode, there's going to be a giveaway. So you want to stick around to the end or, fast forward. I mean, that too. You could do that too. But we're going to talk about that at the end, but stick around in celebration of episode 10. We want to give something back to you guys. We have a giveaway for you.
And how do they get it?
We'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to give it up too early. Stick around for the podcast. Yep. So we're going to start out with about us. We called this episode Hometown just because, it's where you're from. And so we want to talk a little bit about hometown, who we are, and let you guys know about our lives a little bit. So we'll start off with the first question. Where are you from? Lee's in a special place.
He's in his own head right now.
Yeah.
That's where he is from.
Yeah. Everybody, we should just start with Lee since.
Let's start. Where am I from?
Lee?
Where are you from,
I was born in Baytown, Texas, and grew up until 9th grade in the Deer Park, LaPorte area. Lived in Deer Park, went to LaPorte schools. It's kind of weird. And then my dad transferred from Dow and LaPorte to Dow and Freeport. And we moved down here, and I lived in Angleton until I graduated high school. And then I went off and eventually went to college in Texas A&M Corpus Christi, got married, had my first kid, moved back here in 2008. And so from 2002 to 2008, I was down in Corpus. And then 2008, we moved back here and lived in the area ever since. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm from.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you, Jason?
So I'm from a town in West Texas. It's a little town, Sweetwater, Texas.
I know where Sweetwater is.
Yeah, if
Friends
you've
there.
ever driven through Texas on the I-20,
Yeah.
you have gone through Sweetwater, even if you didn't know it. It is a typical small town. I think there was about 10,000 people there when I lived there. I grew up there. I graduated there. That was most of my life. I did move to another town for a little bit, but I went right back while I was in school. Just to give you context to how many people that is, I was in the Navy on a ship that had 6,000 people. So the town, 10,000. Although the county at the time only had like 14,000 people. So Sweetwater was the major town in the county. But it was one of those places everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
That is where I'm from. Little town, Sweetwater, Texas.
Cool.
Not
awesome.
the music company.
Yeah. Everybody always
It's
connects
a whole
those. If
different
you're into music, you know about Sweetwater.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Eric? Where are you
True.
from, dude?
I was born in Arizona,
Okay.
Flagstaff. We lived up near Flagstaff, near the Navajo Indian Reservation in Holbrook for several years. Then we moved into the valley, close to Phoenix. So I was in Chandler Mesa area till 1988, and then we moved. Then we moved here, to the coast in Texas. I did not want to move. I was so mad at my parents, but my dad changed jobs, and we had family friends that were like, "Come down here, we get you a job."
Yeah.
And so my dad moved here to work in the plants, and I've been in this area most of that time, just general in the area. Moved closer to San Antonio for about four and a half years, and then came back to where we are now, here in B County.
B County.
Yeah, B County.
B County, man.
2010. So I've been here ever since.
Nice. Yeah, I am a born and raised in this small little huddle of cities. We've got the four, or five actually, technically, if you count Freeport on the south side, but we got Angleton, Lake Jackson, Richwood, Clute, and Freeport all right here. And I grew up in Richwood, or the Wood as we called it. There's nothing rich about it. It's a really small town, smaller than Clute. Little dude. In fact, we're so small that we don't have our own post office, and we share a zip code with Clute. So I grew up there. Yeah, and it's basically in the Lake Jackson area too. Yeah. So I mean, the whole city seemed like one city. It didn't seem like we were in a separate area. You know,
that's true.
Someone from Richwood would say that.
Yeah, I mean, but for context, the great thing about Richwood too is it's such a small town that for a long time didn't have a lot, just residential stuff and like a small fire department, police department stuff that was also city hall. The city pool that we got was donated by somebody who lived there and then donated their home with a pool in it, and the home got torn down. And it was just the little lima bean pool, and that was the city of Richwood's pool. And I grew up having swimming lessons there. And I've never left. I've lived here my entire life. And I've loved it here. My parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. So it's nice to get to go back to my home that I grew up in on the little cul-de-sac. So yeah, it was a small town life for me. Things have changed quite a bit. And I know we'll get into those some of those changes now, but
sure.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that I grew up in the wooded area and saw deer every morning to now that my parents is just surrounded by businesses and churches and new homes. And yeah, it's totally different. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I moved here when I was 2005, something like that. And we had some friends, let's see, because of Walgreens, we had some friends there or whatnot. And at the time, the mayor of Richwood worked at the Lake Jackson Walgreens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was like,
so small the town.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't.
Yeah.
We did have our own school,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. It's called Polk Elementary. We were the Polk Pandas.
Polk.
Whoop whoop!
Yep.
Shout out to all the
Wow.
alumni of elementary schools. But yeah, that was it. And then I remember the biggest thing happened in Richwood for us kids. Like we didn't have any stores or anything like that, and all of a sudden a Dollar General just dropped in Richwood, and we were so excited.
It's like Walmart. It's
Oh,
like a
man, yeah.
Walmart
The mini
for-
version.
Dude,
yeah.
so like all the time you would have kids just walking or riding their bikes in our city, just culminating at this Dollar General to buy snacks and
Nice.
stuff. And that was a huge memory for me as a kid. I would be walking home with those Kool-Aid things where you pop off the plastic top, and squeeze out the
Yeah.
Kool-Aid, and it was great, but
Good times.
it was such a small town,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, that's
yeah.
different.
different Kool-Aid, but same.
Definitely something about growing up in a small town. Like
Uh-huh.
like you said, people were just on their bikes walking,
Yeah,
driving.
yeah.
And I
walked to school.
remember, man, somebody invited me to go to a movie, and I didn't have a car, so I walked, and it's basically across town. Like it
Uh-huh.
was almost all the other side of town, and it took me like 10 minutes. Like no
Mm-hmm.
problem. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that here.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes would carry you away here.
Yes,
But-
they would.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, where we're from.
That's right.
there's
Clute,
a lot of-
Texas. The
Yeah.
home of the
yeah.
Mosquito Festival.
Mosquito
know.
Festival.
We
You
do
know
have
they're
mosquito
bad.
festival.
For those of you who are like, man, the mosquitoes are bad here.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
here we have
have a festival named
Yeah.
named for
Yeah.
the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
The
So, what, like, I know you talked about Eric. I'm interested in what you other guys have to say, but like the fact that y'all are here now, like what brought y'all here? I know you said your dad kind of changed jobs
Yes.
and y'all had to move here. I'm
Yes.
guessing because he got an opportunity to work here, maybe at the chemical plants, because our area is very heavily
Yeah,
laid
there's
with
a lot
all
of that.
sorts of chemical plants. Here.
Yeah, he was working in. He worked for a maintenance company when he moved here
Mhm.
that does like that does work for the plants. That's how he got his
Yeah.
foot in the door at Dow. But before, whenever we lived in Arizona, he was working for one of the power plants in like major power plants for the area. So and they were having some major layoffs,
Mhm.
and he just felt a peace. It felt like God was like, hey, just by the way, heads up, you're about to lose your job.
Oh
So
man.
prepare yourself. And so, that's, my parents were praying through that process, and my grandparents were like, we got these friends. One of them is in Texas, and the other one is in Arizona. They were twins. And the one in Texas said, hey, move down here, we'll get you a job.
Yeah.
And so our family vacation turned into us coming to Texas, which I was so hacked off. I mean, I didn't want anything to do with Texas. Like why in the world are we going to Texas? And then our vacation turned into like that's them hunting for a
job.
home.
A home
They
and a
got the
job.
job.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
dad got the job,
okay.
and so they were hunting for homes.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. And I'm like, this is so fun.
This is a
But
bad
we
dream.
were staying with friends, so we were kind of oblivious to all of the details. And then when we got home, that's when we were informed. Hey, by the way, we're about to move over 1,000 miles away from everything you've ever known
Yeah.
to Texas.
I wonder
you
if
know.
anybody listening can relate to that.
I'm sure. Let us know. Let us
Yeah.
know. I went from over 100 degree temperatures, but it was desert dry heat, to
Yep.
over 100 degree temperatures, but it's like
Swimming.
yeah.
In the air.
It's 98% humidity on a 100-degree day.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to do. I almost died. Like literally,
Yeah.
I remember when we moved here, I was like, our school is not that far away. So I'm gonna jump on my bike. I'm gonna tour the neighborhood, and we're
Yep.
gonna go look at the new school that I'm gonna be at. It wasn't far. It's like you're talking about you're walking 10 minutes. I think we rode our bikes for 15 to get there and back. And I almost died because I had no idea how to, my body was
Oh, yeah.
acclimated to
Yeah,
this.
you know.
And so I came home to massive heat stroke because all of the moisture went,
Yeah.
sweat out my body. I didn't
It's
know
like
what
telling
was
people
going
if you,
on.
if you don't know what we're talking about, just imagine you're inside of a giant microwave filled with water while it's turned
So
on
hot.
and the
Yeah.
mosquitoes are eating you.
Yeah,
That's
what
right.
I,
That's
what I
right.
tell
That's-
people is if you want to know what it's like, get in your shower, turn it on as hot as you can, get in there, get good and wet, jump out of the shower, and immediately put your clothes on. That's what it is
Yes.
like being outside.
That is so accurate.
yeah.
Mm.
That is so
yeah,
accurate.
It's swampy.
Yep.
It's a funny quick story. I went to Arizona one time
Nice.
to visit a friend in Tucson, and it was 113 degrees that day.
Yeah.
In the shade.
And we were going hiking And so we walked down this mountain, and then we were going to go hike to this little pool of water and, you know, and then refresh ourselves and come back. And everybody's drinking water. And I am from Texas. And so I'm like, this isn't hot. This is nothing. And I am skipping from rock to rock like a gazelle. And everybody's like, drink some water, Lee. I'm like, I'm not thirsty.
Yeah.
And on the way back, we get to the bottom of that mountain and heat stroke hits me.
Yep.
And I'm suddenly like, and my skin was dry.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, it was scary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Almost
because
died.
everything evaporates so fast. Like, you
But-
know, that's why they're like, you have to stay on top of it.
But it
because-
did not feel hot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going back to visit family, and my brothers and I would be wrestling in the front yard, barely breaking a sweat.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, we could go for hours. Then you realize, you know, everything's just evaporating.
Yeah.
I remember a light rain, the rain evaporating before it hit the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Of
crazy.
course, you didn't get a whole lot.
I
I
do remember
also
that.
remember, like, we got a year's worth of rain. Like the first week we moved here,
Mhm.
we got a year's worth of Arizona rain in 3 days.
Yeah. That's common here.
Yeah.
It's like I call them
It's
just
swamp.
mini tropical storms.
Yeah.
You know, just
Yeah,
It's
and
crazy.
I always think, like, what did the first settlers that came here,
yeah.
like,
Oh my gosh.
what they had to go through?
Mm.
Because
The mosquitoes had to swarm.
yeah, the mosquitoes, like, there's no air conditioning. I mean,
Yeah, there's a museum
just
here
brutal.
locally that talks about how our area was a literal swamp at one
Yeah,
point
yeah.
before it
Like,
was developed.
we're
The
like
Bernard
15, 20 minutes away from the coast, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
So
very
like,
close.
we're right by the water.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, you know, I've said I was born and raised here. A little backstory: my family's actually from Washington and New Mexico. Like that's kind of where they're
Okay.
from. So my dad, everybody, his brothers, they has 8 siblings, so they all moved here because of Dow as well. The jobs
Cool.
here.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here. That's why I grew up in the LJ, Richwood,
Mhm.
Clute, Angleton, Freeport area. You know, it's because
Yeah.
jobs too. I mean, that's going to be probably a normal for us because almost everybody I talk to, the history of why people are here is usually jobs because
Right.
Dow is such a massive
yeah.
company, and now there's like 10 other chemical plants that are
Yeah.
here.
It's because we're by the coast.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I'm interested. You guys are both from other cities in Texas, but
Yeah.
how'd y'all make your way down here?
Oh, I can go first. It's funny growing up in a Deer Park, LaPorte area. We have relatives down near Corpus Christi,
Mhm.
and we'd always drive down 35. And when we passed through Angleton, we'd always be like, "Man, who would ever live in this little one-stop town?" You know. And then a few years later, it was us.
That's
Yep.
right.
And so when my dad transferred, that was it. We
It
ended
was
up
prophetic.
yeah. It's funny because we lived in Richwood first. We lived in the Landing
Okay.
and Landing Apartments, and then we got a house over in Angleton. And then years later, when we moved back here, because my parents still lived in the area, and they were like, we had our first their first grandkid, and we had our first kid, and they were like, "You need to be near us, move back." And I called their bluff, and we did. And we moved in, and we ended up at the Landing.
Wow.
The
Right back when you
same
started.
guy.
At the Landing.
18 it was like 18 years later,
It's-
and we're
I've had a
back.
lot of-
landing.
Yeah, I've had a lot of friends
It was
that
really
live at the
weird.
Landing.
Yeah.
It's
So-
still there.
Yeah,
I
it's
still
still
live
there. Yeah, but anyways, that's how we ended up back here.
Yeah, so like I said, I was in Sweetwater most of my life. About a year or two, I did move to another town, but then ended up back in Sweetwater. But then I went in the military.
Mhm.
I was in the Navy and traveled all over the place, school, and then being actually on a ship. So I was all over the country with that. After the Navy, I was discharged and had to decide what to do.
Honorably.
Actually medically.
Really?
Medically, I am 50% disabled.
Oh, okay. Good
Yeah.
to know.
So it was a head injury. I
We'll
don't
make that
remember
100% if you want.
it. Yeah. I don't remember it.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah,
I
head
love you.
injury. I got out. Medical discharge. They did give me the option. Hey, you can stay in. You just can't stay in the same field that you're in. And I was like, at this point, I've already put in like 4 or 5 years. No, I don't really want to swap.
Yeah.
And start over. And so
That's fair.
yeah, like then I had to decide, what do I do? I could do the same thing in a civilian job, which actually would have worked in this area. Power plants. I worked with nuclear propulsion. So, power plants and that sort of thing. But I was like, I don't think I want to stay in the same field. I had family here because of Dow.
Yep.
Mhm.
They got moved here. And so my wife's sister was here, and we're like, well, we'll go there while we're figuring out what to do, and just kind of stuck. Stayed ever since. Yeah, like that's
Isn't that the truth?
yeah.
Everybody's
so,
story.
Yeah, you just
Yeah,
kind of get
Then we got
stuck.
stuck there.
just stuck.
It just gets
yeah.
comfortable.
So
It is a swamp.
that's what brought us here. And yeah, and we still have family here. Jackie's mother was here when we moved here. So she still has her sister here. But that's really the only family we have here. All the rest of my family's in Sweetwater, and hers is in Colorado, which is almost just as far.
Right.
From Sweetwater is like an 8-hour drive or something from here. So kind of ridiculous.
That's the nature of living on the coast, in the middle of the coast almost. It's, if you want to drive anywhere, technically you could, I guess, get out of the state, one direction if you drove 3 hours, whatever.
Yeah, if you drove up the coast.
Yeah. But like whenever we would go back to visit in Arizona, it would take us, it was an all-day trip, and we'd not get out of Texas
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah, it's like 10-hour drives.
In one
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, growing up and going to visit family in New Mexico, I know that drive very, very well.
Right.
So yeah,
I-10.
yeah, we've had a lot of trips up the West Coast and stuff because my family's all up that side, and so one of the things you were mentioning about the dry heat earlier from Arizona.
Yeah.
I remember my first experience with that, and I was asthmatic, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to be really good for your asthma because it's going to be cleaner air." They forget that as somebody that is asthmatic in an area that has so much moisture in the air, your body gets used to the moisture and
Right.
the regulation of that through your
You're
lungs.
absorbing water from the air. Yeah.
Dude, the lungs dry out so quick.
Jack
and
up
then-
your world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It made it way worse. I was using my albuterol way more often in Arizona. It was
So
nuts.
so Sweetwater is right on the edge, kind of a desert, right? Because it is West Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see tumbleweeds and stuff drive by, just roll by all the time.
Driving on by.
Pretty much. But yeah, it's that same thing. Like it gets really, really hot, but at night it gets cold. Like
Yeah.
I do miss that. Like I
Yeah.
can deal with the heat of the day if I knew as soon as the sun went down,
Yeah.
it just felt like
Mhm.
nice. There's
Yeah.
there's none of that here.
No,
It's
That's
the middle
true.
of the night, and it's
80
still like
degrees.
Still hot.
yeah,
80,
ridiculously hot.
humid.
Well, working into like personal stories and stuff, I the house that we rented before we moved here, we had a pool.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because of the way it was positioned, it would take the sun all day long. So, and the only way you could swim in it is if it was early in the morning or after the sun went down.
Yeah.
Like during the middle. I remember as a kid, I'm mowing the yard, and the whole time I'm mowing the yard, I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait till this is done. I get to go jump in the pool. Oh yeah, this is gonna be amazing. It drove me. I was like, yes, yes, yes. Finally get done mowing the yard. I go in and get my bathing suit in. I jump off the diving board into the pool. I get out of the pool and walk right back inside because the water was so hot.
Yeah.
It was not. It was not a relief at all. It was not.
Yeah, that's
I
that.
sat in the bathtub with the cold water on and said, "This will do."
Mm.
The, the trick with the water down here now is people have learned from that, and now pools are designed with non-static water. So there's some sort of pumping water onto the
Oh,
top
yeah,
to
yeah.
break the
Try
surface
to keep the
because it'll keep it cooler that way. Static water here just heats up
Genius.
so quick.
yeah, it does. So talking about where you're from, what's something I don't know, what's a story that makes where you're from unique? Something you would remember.
Mm.
Oh man, I'm from here.
You're from here, so what do you got?
Yeah, I can think of a story. I was like, there was an alligator on the road
Gator.
that had been hit, and we witnessed two guys stop, and they kind of had like the discussion of who was going to take the dead gator home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of where we're living.
That's where
It's-
I ran over one 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Really,
Yes,
He's
How
got
big?
video.
8 feet.
really.
Yeah, it was a beast.
It tried to attack his tire.
It did.
What?
It did.
Why am I just now hearing?
I'm
about
sorry.
this?
I'll show you the video later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
Yes.
We'll have to post that on the
Yeah.
website.
We
Yeah,
might
yeah.
we might
That's
post
where
it
we
if
live.
anybody's interested in seeing the video of him running over a gator.
Yeah.
Why?
Although
did
some
you
people
run it
might
over?
be really mad that you ran over a
it
gator.
attacked his vehicle. Like he was just trying to get by.
So let's jump in. So I'm driving
yeah,
down the
let's hear
road.
it.
It was in the evening. It's probably 8 at night. It's dark, and we're going over this bridge, and two
What
cars.
bridge?
Old Angleton Road.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, okay, yep.
Y'all know.
No, nothing.
If you're from here,
Yeah.
we're going down Old Angleton Road towards the first Buc-ee's, and we get to the bridge over Oyster Creek, and 2 cars have stopped. I'm like, man, what's going on? Did someone break down? Did you run out of gas? Well, then they slowly move out of the way, and here's this giant alligator just walking in the middle of the street. I'm thinking, all right, I'm just going to do what those guys did and slowly make my way. Well, then it lays down. It just lays down. I'm like, what? So I pull out my phone and I'm recording this thing, of course, because this is not something you see every day.
Yeah.
I mean, you see them every now and again, but not in the middle of the road.
Yeah, that's not as common.
And so I'm like, all right. So I have the window down, and so I'm like, I need to go. So I'm slowly moving forward, and the thing turns and charges me. I'm like, oh no. So I pull my hand in because, they can jump up, and my son's like, oh no. We're freaking out. And you can actually, in the video, there's this car full of ladies at the end of the bridge, and you can hear them screaming.
Nice.
And so I'm like, ka-thunk. I look in my rearview mirror, and he keeps on walking, and then gets into the water.
He
I'm
was
like,
not scared.
okay.
You have armored skin.
That gator is somewhere right now telling its story. It's
Yeah.
like, man, I was just trying to get out of the way.
I tackled this truck.
That's so great.
This guy with bald head,
Yeah.
long beard.
Yeah, one of the, I don't have a cool story like a gator or nothing.
Gator.
The thing that I was thinking of, which makes our town unique, even if it is like Jackson born, it served the entirety of the 4 or 5 cities I've mentioned before. But it's Buc-ee's. We just talked about it. Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's become statewide famous, but even now it's poured into Oklahoma,
It's moved to other
Louisiana,
states.
All the way to Georgia.
Yeah.
It's going to Georgia now. They're known for the nicest restrooms ever because they
That's
keep
their
them
thing.
insanely clean, and they're super private and well done.
Yeah.
Great restrooms, honestly.
Buc-ee nuggets.
They also are well known
Odd
for being
transition.
the largest corner store ever built. They're literally the size of large grocery stores. They have everything
true.
you can imagine.
It's
They
an
have-
experience
Yeah,
that everyone
it
needs
is.
to have at least
Yeah.
once.
Well, it's interesting because you talk about Buc-ee's and people that have gone to a large Buc-ee's are like, oh, it's amazing. It's
Yep.
huge. It's massive. But then we've got Buc-ee's in our town that like they got 2 pumps.
Yeah, because it's like the original
We have-
Buc-ee's. It's like
yeah.
a tiny little gas store. Yeah.
We have the
and you
original-
go in and you're like, and people are like, it's amazing. You're like, they didn't even have the drink that I was looking for. You're like, you go there and they're like, we've got every drink under the sun.
Yeah,
120 drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll share something with Sweetwater. Sweetwater is known for having the world's largest rattlesnake roundup.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so if you want to see some rattlesnakes,
do
spring
not.
break. Spring break every year they do the world's largest rattlesnake roundup. There are documentaries on it. Actually, I think on Netflix, maybe it's on Prime right now. There is a documentary of the Miss Snake Charmer pageant.
Oh, nice.
From
I'll take out mosquitoes.
like
Sorry.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. Yeah, it's a teenage pageant. There's some snake handling. There's some it's
Teenage
the whole,
beauty queen.
Yeah, basically.
Based on
and it
rattlesnakes.
is Miss Snake Charmer.
Wow.
We've got gators, we've got snakes.
Yeah.
You know,
It-
I have another quick story.
Yeah.
Thinking of this area, Ron Paul.
Mhm.
Got
Yeah,
to
he's
love Ron
from this
Paul.
area.
Ron Paul's well. Yeah.
Not that long ago, it was a couple of years ago, he was running for president, and I voted for him
Did
in the
you almost kill
primary.
him?
I did.
I almost killed him too.
Oh, my
What?
gosh.
Okay,
It's a Lake Jackson
we're
thing.
compare
Go for
stories.
it.
Yeah, Lake
clarify
Jackson
this.
stories.
Clarify this. This is
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
I'll
gonna show
clarify it. So if people screaming clarify, I'll clarify.
Clarify this.
Yeah, clarify. I feel like you were going into a Ross Perot impression.
Yeah.
Speaking of people running for president,
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm driving down the road and this old man on a bicycle comes rolling up to the light, and I'm like, okay, and light's green, so I'm gonna go. And he rolls out, and I have to slam on my brakes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And he just wasn't paying attention, whatever, rolled it back up. And so I went on. But as I passed him, I went, that's Ron Paul.
Yeah.
The guy's running for president. I almost ran him over.
You almost ran over
I know, it's
potentially the
crazy.
future president.
Same story.
That's crazy.
Same story.
Basically,
Where?
yeah. I was at the apartments across the street from Shy Pond.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm at the apartments. I'm about to pull out, and there's like bushes. So like you have to pull so far out so you can see down the road.
Yeah.
And I get up to a certain point, and yeah, he's known for just riding around the town without holding his handlebars on a bicycle. Right.
Yeah.
Like he
Nice.
just puts his arm down his
Pedals.
wrist, and he just goes right by. And
Had you not,
if I had, yeah, like if I'd have pulled out another like 6-7 inches, I totally would have hit him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's this little Ron Paul just goes by.
It's so
And
crazy.
again, it was while he was running for president. I was been like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that was his plan. Maybe he's like, I'm going to go down. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Just I hope everybody who's listening like goes, if they don't know who Ron Paul is, just look him up.
Look him
man.
up.
We need Ron Paul on the podcast.
Yeah,
Oh
we need
my
to get
gosh,
him in.
yes.
Yeah.
That'd be
Tell us
amazing.
about his
Yeah. The
bike
Pauls.
rides and how many times that's
How many
almost
times have
happened.
you
Yeah.
almost been
There's
hit?
a lot of people in Lake Jackson that has almost hit.
Dude, I
Ron
was about
Paul.
to say
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we're about to wrap up, but I was thinking of like going back to home, like where I'm from.
Yeah.
We're surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
So I'm living in the valley. So everywhere you go, there's mountains. We live here on the coast, and we don't even have hills. Like
No.
the closest we have is hills, and it ain't hill.
Yeah.
Or the dump.
The
way,
dump.
way
yeah,
back. Yeah.
The trash dump.
So anytime I go back to Arizona, and like I went a couple months ago, and I get out of the airport into my friend's car, and I'm just looking around going, oh man, these mountains are amazing. He's
Yep.
like, oh yeah. I forget you don't see these every day.
No.
So it's just beautiful to see mountains after you're surrounded by, 8 feet of elevation everywhere you go.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's a funny thing you bring up the landfill because we make that joke in our family all the time. Where anybody gets in the car with us, we're like, "Welcome
to
to
the
Texas. There's Texas mountains right there." Yeah,
There are mountains. You just got to go to the west side of
Yeah.
Texas.
That's right.
But no, it's funny. I think we take for granted the things about the area that we're at that other people don't have. So
yeah,
like,
they love
True.
to.
you like, I remember when I first moved here, I lived here for a few years, and then I saw people that I grew up with were coming to vacation at Surfside.
Yep.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was like,
Why? Yeah.
Why are you
Yeah.
going to Surfside? Like,
I know.
there's
Yeah.
so many other beaches. But it's the Gulf and,
Yeah.
and beach houses and stuff. And people really enjoyed that. Same thing with like the mountains. Like you live around the mountains for a long time and people are like, it's just a mountain. Like, but
Yeah.
then I went to Colorado and I'm like, this is amazing. Like
Yeah.
being out in the mountains. So yeah, I think we take for granted sometimes what's in our
Agreed.
backyard.
Yeah, it's true.
Now,
We do.
I'll never think that of mosquitoes. Like anybody could
Never.
take mosquitoes.
No doubt.
Never.
Yeah, that's not a plus.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, as we wrap up here, guys, thank you so much. Those of you who have been with us since episode 1, listening, watching, however you like to enjoy the podcast. We are excited to continue this journey in the podcast. Like I said, it's something we've always wanted to do for a really long time. We're great friends. We love to talk about stuff. And so we're going to continue that podcast. You can look forward to it getting a little bit more narrow focused in some of our episodes. We want to dive deep into some other things we really enjoy. So you'll see some episodes about specific things. We've talked about doing Star Wars and like Lee said a little bit ago, food, like things like that. So if you want to catch us in our interest,
Politics.
I don't know about, well, maybe.
Ron Paul.
Yeah,
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul.
It's too late. It's already there.
Keep
Yeah,
tuning
get
in.
Ron Paul on here.
But I promised you at the beginning that because we were celebrating episode 10, we wanted to do a giveaway. And so what we're going to do is we want to give somebody a $50 gift card to Chick-Fil-A. Down here, Chick-Fil-A is super important. Everybody loves it. I think it's probably one of the most famous chicken restaurants and fast food in the entire nation. A lot of people love it. So we figured this would be a great opportunity to give back. Say thank you for watching. So we're going to give a $50 Chick-fil-A gift card to whoever. What we need you to do is
Not whoever.
whoever wins and does this
Whoever
little
wins,
process.
yeah.
Yes.
Let's clarify.
So
Take these steps.
Yeah, you got to take these steps. I need you to go over to our YouTube page at 4THOUGHT Podcast, and you're going to like, subscribe, and then comment your hometown. Just write in your hometown, wherever you're from.
Not the words your hometown.
Yeah,
like
don't
where
type in
you're actually-
where you're actually from. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all those comments, all your names that do this process, and we're going to put them into a random generator. And that winner, we are going to contact you, and then we're going to have you email us so that we can privately set up a place to either ship the card to you or however that process is. But we'll reach out to you and make sure you get that gift card. But if you want the Chick-fil-A gift card, just simply like, subscribe, and then comment the name of your hometown. And we would love to see who the winner is going to be.
For real.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And we'll check you next time on the 4THOUGHT Podcast. Peace out.